us on the map. Mr. Caruana leading the beat. Australia global rank 6. Feeling the heat like immortality.
Alright, so in this video we are touching on the health status of young Australians. When I'm referring to young Australians, I'm talking about people in the age category of 15 to 24, aka the people watching this video, alright? From this video, this is like your sort of intro teaser. After this, you will select a health issue and you will dive into depth as to that health issue for young people. And I've got separate videos on all those health issues for you. So this is just general information. So key trends in the data for young people, all right? Decreasing mortality rates, which is excellent, all right? So there's been a 20% decrease in the last 15 years for young people dying per, 1,000 deaths, which is excellent. Males are still 2 times higher than females as far as mortality rates go. So that means, for every 10, 15 to 24-year-old males that die, only 5 females would have died, for example. The top 3 causes for them, specifically for males, are intentional self-harm or suicide, motor vehicle accidents and, land transport related accidents, and the third one, accidental poisoning, which is our fancy way of saying drugs and alcohol. Mental health is the largest disease burden, so this is morbidity, with 39% of 15 to 24-year-olds actually seeing a doctor for mental health related concerns. That's a lot. That's like every 2 in 5 people in a classroom have seen a doctor or will see a doctor before the end of university or whatever they're doing at 24 for mental health concerns. Like, that's increasing, all right? There are many reasons why mental health is increasing. Long story short, it's better awareness around the issue, so there are more people actually looking at signs and going, hey, maybe I'm not just sad, maybe I have a problem. But also, social media, technology, the connectedness of the world, etc. It all adds up to this big bucket of burden that are experiencing and leading to mental health problems. Anyway, side tangent, what's new? 3 times increase in ADHD related prescriptions, and believe it or not, there is a 4 times increase in females alone. And so this is a good thing, all right? So obviously for a long time, ADHD was seen as a male-only disease. We know from recently that females can and do have ADHD, it's just their symptoms present differently. And it's really bad because a lot of old school doctors are still like, oh, well, if you're not talking in class the whole time, you're not throwing chairs across the room, you don't have ADHD, which is a complete lie. So 4 times increase in ADHD-related prescriptions. There has been a 2 times increase in chronic conditions and not permanent disability, but long-term disability for young people, all right, in the last 15 years. So that means that, in, I think it was 2009, there was 6.6% of all 15, 24-year-olds had a chronic condition, so long-term health condition or a disability. And the latest data, I think we got it from 2022, it's over 14%, and I'm assuming now we're in 2026, that's increased further. Once again, a lot of it is due to awareness and education, etc. as well. So a lot of people would have a long-term condition or a disability and wasn't recognised in the past. Finally, First Nations youth and First Nations people in general, their health levels are increasing, which is excellent. All right, so the mortality median is currently sitting at about, currently it's about 62. This data was from 2022, so 61 in this data, from 56. All right, so that's, over the last 15 years, there has been an increase, but that's still a significant gap. All right, if you look at the life expectancy, there is about a 9-year gap between a First Nations person and a non-First Nations Australian. 9 years that's a lot of time, right? Think about what you have achieved in 9 years, and imagine if you just lost all those 9 years, which is really sad. But, the government is trying to do some things to help with that, and I do have a whole series of videos on this in the Year 12 course, which I'm sure you'll all get to and enjoy when we get there. So there is just some brief key trends in the data for the health status of young Australians. Okay, some causes and protective factors in general for the health of young Australians. So the big one, mental health problems. We already spoke that it's the largest cause of burden for young people. And this can come from academic pressure, like education. I'm not talking about high school, I mean like that expectation that you must achieve X, Y, Z. It's funny, as a high school teacher, we're always pushed to try and get people the best results possible. But at some point you need to put the human element in it and go, all right, if getting you a band 6 is going to end up in you being a crumbling mess in the corner, rocking yourself from all the tears and stuff, then it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But, you know, it's my opinion, all right? That's not anything factual. I would rather see someone finish their HSC and be happy and healthy as opposed to getting a band 6 and, you know, bogged down with anxiety and depression. Just my opinion. Don't hate me for it. Family structures and evolution. Okay, so, you know, traditionally, for a long, long time, a parent stayed at home. They looked after, and usually it was a female, not all the time, but just traditionally, you know, did cooking, cleaning, etc. Or they'd pick you up from school, drop you off from school, and everything was done. These days, because of, you know, the cost of living and all the other business going on, everyone's busy. Everyone is so busy. Like, I get home in the afternoon, and my kids are like, "Hey, Dad, can you play with me?" And I want to say yes, but at the same time, got to cook dinner, got to do all the things that we need to do to make the household run. And that can take a toll on kids, and that's really hard, really hard to overcome. And societal expectation, this sort of links in with social media, that everybody's sort of expected to be on point and on trend and everything, and, you know, it's silly. It's silly, you know, just be yourself. So, like, positives, all right, good, strong social support networks, all right? You should be basing yourself around people who value you for who you are, and they appreciate and accept your values, okay? And they don't try and change you to fit or conform to whatever society wants. And also that bakes into you personally having strong values and well-being and sticking to your guns, all right? If you believe something and you feel something, go with it. Screen time, social media obviously wasn't a thing when I was a kid, and now it's a massive thing, all right? You've got to limit it, all right? You've got to, like, coming back to strong personal values and well-being, you, at the end of the day, are the one that holds the device in your hand. You need to make choices that says, you know what, I'm not going to spend my time on this. I'm going to allow myself to get bored. I'm going to go look out the window for 20 minutes and see what shapes I can make out of clouds or whatever, all right? Just get off them, all right? Linking into that is sleep. Sleep is one of the major causes of mental health problems. And we know from data that most young people are not getting adequate sleep, all right? 8 hours plus a day, all right, is what you need. And that's been a standard staple forever and a day. Nothing's changed because of the modern society. If anything, because you've got more information going in your brain all the time, you probably need more sleep, not less. And then we've got common ones, you know, sedentary behavior, do some exercise, diet. So diet's a tricky one because a lot of time for youth, your diet is dictated by what your parents can give you. But if your parents are both working because of family structures and jobs, etc., it's hard, but you can help, okay? Guess what? Most people watching this video know how to be in a kitchen and prep food and cook food, and it's really not that hard. That's why we've got recipes for that stuff. If you don't know how to do it, learn, okay? Get off your screen and cook some food. Do it for your family. Everybody benefits. Vaping is obviously one on the rise that we just need to keep an eye out, but it's not vaping, it'll be something else. There's always some sort of drug that people are going to be trying to get. And finally, I probably should have put up the top, but the stigma related to mental health still exists, even though we are getting a lot better with it, but people still feel ashamed by speaking up and saying, you know what, I'm not okay. But it's okay to not be okay, what a cliche. Talk to your support networks. Get some people to help you get help if that's what you need. Okay, causes and protective factors relating to First Nations youth. All right, so what are some things that are going to decrease or increase their level of health compared to non-First Nations Australians? So we'll go through, so I've got positives with ticks and negatives with crosses. So positives, holistic First Nations health framework. So health care that is delivered by, you know, ACCHOs and community-led initiatives, which I'll go through down here. Having that central healthcare from someone who is a First Nations person, understands cultural background, understands the importance of holistic health, and obviously has trust with the culture as opposed to just being, you know, someone who's just graduated, you know, from university as a doctor, has no sort of sense of awareness or cultural understanding about the challenges that First Nations peoples have experienced over the last, you know, 250 years. So that's really important. And a really good example to use is like the Aboriginal Medical Services in Redfern targeting First Nations youth. So it's a clinic and it basically runs targeted programs for youth to ensure that their levels of health are maintained and the same as non-First Nations Australians. So negatives, we've got structural causes of inequity, and I do dive into this a lot more in our Year 12 course, but just be aware of these three sort of terms which are key to understanding this. So colonisation, dispossession of land, and intergenerational trauma. The other one is remoteness, and the term we like to use is tyranny of distance, okay? So, and this applies to all Australians, regardless of your age and regardless of your culture, but the further that you move away from urban environments, the lower your levels of health go. And it's got nothing to do with the fact that you live near the beach, all right? It's just the fact that there are adequate services and information and education and everything which are more centralised around cities, which are closer to the coastline. So finally, in this intro video to the health status of young Australians, we need to look at how some determinants are causing the behaviours which you guys are going to research. So socioeconomic determinants and looking at diet. There is an increased rate of obesity in young people in Australia, and part of that is linked to the next one, which is a severe decrease in vegetable intake. Only 4% currently, 15 to 24-year-olds, are actually consuming their 5 servings of vegetables daily. And if you're not filling up on vegetables, then you're filling up on other stuff. And then if we look back at the previous one, we looked at how family structures are busy and everyone's just, trying to get by. It relates to people getting fast food a lot, obesity kicks in, etc., especially when you put into the sedentary behaviors as well. So environmental, cultural, and screen time. So 38% of our youth are spending more than 3 hours daily in front of a screen. A lot of that is either social media or gaming. That increases to 50% if you are a First Nations person. Not only is this unhealthy habits for, sedentary time, etc., but it also can lead to other disorders such as you having body dysmorphia, so comparing yourself and not seeing yourself as the person you are, because what you see on social media is what you take as normal, and it is not normal, and there's filters and editing and all that kind of stuff, and it can lead to also eating disorders as well. Sociocultural and substance abuse. All right, so while we do have a record low of smoking, which is excellent, vaping is on the rise, and it is rising pretty rapidly because everyone thinks it's cool. All right, someone has a vape, no one's yelling and going, "Ooh, yuck, you vape." People are like, "Oh, cool, can I have a vape too?" That's, it's the same as smoking as far as the effects on the body, and it's, it's not good. Don't do it. And finally, because of the increase of neglect at home, and I don't mean like it's not intentional neglect, it's just the fact that mum and dad are busy or your parents and carers are busy, so you're obviously left alone a lot, or you have to fend for yourself a lot, which can lead to other coping mechanisms such as alcohol, drug usage, etc., which then kicks into gear as you get older. And then finally, looking at education and sexual health. So while it is mandated in 7 to 10 PDHP that all students are educated on sexual health, only 49% of youth who are engaging in sexual behaviors are using methods like condoms, all right? So, and that should be 100%. Like we deliver that message every year to all the kids. And even though they report, so I think it was like 75% of youth reported that they can easily access condoms, only 49% of that 75% are actually using them, which is silly, mind-blowing. Anyway, that's just a brief introduction to the health status of young Australians. You will now go and choose your own adventure and investigate one of the issues that young Australians are experiencing in a lot more depth. Thanks.